Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead. Guys, we've got a bumper for the back of our Polaris Ranger here. While we was at the store, I asked the question to the gentleman that was helping me. I said, if you could put anything on this, what would you put? And he said, sir, I would put a back bumper. And I said, well, why a back bumper? He said, because these lights right here are $80-something a piece. This bumper is just a little over $100. He said, I broke one out on mine, didn't have a back bumper. He said, I had to buy the light. He said, then I realized if I'd had the back bumper, it probably would have saved the light. So he said, for me, personally, it would be to buy a back bumper. So I took his advice and I got the bumper. Now the bumper is, it's a simple bumper, but when you order the kit from Polaris, the kit includes parts for not only the 570 full size, now this is a 570 full size, Ranger is called a 3-seater. This bumper will fit all of them. And when it comes with different brackets in here, and you have to determine which bracket fits your Ranger. And that's made for the twin-seater ones, the ones with the longer beds on the back of them and stuff like that. Well, ours has the compact bed on it. Now they sent 2 sets of brackets. You have the long brackets here. This is for the like MY17s and stuff like that, the twin-seater ones and all. It's got the larger bed. Ours is going to be using these shorter brackets here. Now they're very easy to install, and I'm going to take you through the whole process here and show you just how they install on the back of the Polaris Ranger. Now we're going to lay this up here out of the way, close the tailgate back up. Now it comes with your bolts here. Now these bolts are 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Either one will work. They're both actually the same. Now you want to take this, and up under the bottom of the Polaris here, there's a bracket right under the bottom here in the frame. You don't want to really tighten any of these bolts down to start with. You want to just fit them in there loosely. Now this is going to be a kind of a tight fit, but there's a hole right here. You can see it goes through there, and then there's a hole in this bracket right here. Now what we want to do is we want to take this thing, and it's, like I said, it's a tight fit. You got to kind of work it to get it in there. You want to stick it up in there, get it where you can get the bolt through it. Now it may take me a minute here to figure that bolt out. Getting it lined up. Okay, the bolt hole is right here in the side. We want to stick our bolts through it. And just, you don't want to tighten anything down. Now there's a bolt hole right here, and there's one in the frame right up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up. There we go. And it should stay up there. And we're going to get our, they have a small bolt in the pack here. These are supposed to have 16 foot-pounds of pressure on them. Just for the record. Now, let's talk about what we learned. First thing we learned on this one, this is probably the worst design I've ever come across in my life. You will not get this done unless you have an extension with a wiggler on the bottom of it. This wiggler, you will have to put your socket on it, put your nut on there, and because you can stick it at an angle like that, you can stick it up in that hole up under there and run it back up in there, and then you got to very meticulously take your fingers right here and try to get that thing started. It took me about 20 minutes to put this one bolt in right here. And then when I tightened it down and I went to take my socket off, the socket wanted to stay on the nut, and then I had a fit trying to get the socket and extension and all that back up on there, get the nut loose in the socket and get it back off of there. So this is a very poor design. This right here is just not a good design. But without this 3/8 inch wiggler, you're not going to use a 1/2 inch. A 1/2 inch won't go in there. You got to have a 3/8 inch with a long extension in order to make this happen. And it has got to be literally perfect before it will work. Now, okay guys, what you run into is the instructions only show this one bar coming across right here. It doesn't show you the frame sitting here, and the fact that this is a small hole in here, and when you stick this thing up in here like this, you look up under it, you got to stick your finger through this little tiny hole right here, and you got to get that nuts right there. In other words, let me give you a demonstration. The bolt goes through here like this, and you got to be able to reach up through here like this from underneath it and get that nut on there. And the only way to do that and to make it work is to have an extension like this with a wiggler on the end of it, so that you can stick that thing up in here like this and be able to line it up with that nut and be able to screw that bolt on there. And where you have to screw the bolt is your fingers, there's very little room there to get your fingers. So it's a very poor design, I can tell you that. It's going to take a while to do it, so if you're going to do it, just go ahead and figure it's going to take you a little time. Maybe me showing you this will help out. Now this is such a tight fit up in here, you literally have to take your hands and drive this. And then you have to try to line it up. Now me, I like the nuts to be up under mine in here. I don't like it to be, it could go either way, I suppose. You've got to try to get this thing lined up. And it is very difficult because it is so tight. Now, following the directions that they give you don't work out real well. Just a heads up for any of you who's going to try to attempt this. Now that we have that, don't tighten this one down. Now we're going to, the next trick is to get this up and get it lined up, because it's a pain in the rear end to get that bolt. There's just enough room between the tailgate and this for that bolt to go in there. I mean, just less than a 1/16 of an inch and it won't go in there. Okay. Now we're going to take this nut and we're going to stick it on here. And this is where the problem comes in, because you can't see up in there. There's nowhere to see. You got to feel. You got to feel your way around in there. There's absolutely no way to see anything. And then you have to stick your fingers right here and try to turn it. And if you don't get it right, it ain't gonna happen. I'm thinking I might have got it. It's hard to say. Alright, now we're learning something new on this side. Okay. This side, evidently, we can't use a long extension because the muffler's in the way. This one is a little bit harder to screw on. Guys, I'm going to tell y'all something. This is very poor design. Very poor design. If you had an air ratchet, it probably wouldn't be a bit of trouble in the world. But there we go. I'm on it now. Okay. I think we finally figured it out. Short extension and a wiggler. Alright, time to tighten the other one down. Now, these holes are a little slotted. That's because they give you a little room on this one. Let's just hope this goes a little better than the other did. Look at there. Now, these are lock nuts, so we're going to put one on each one of them so we can let go of the bumper. Alright, now it's just a matter of tightening it down. I think the ratchet will work just fine in this. Okay. Alright guys, we've got the bumper on now. It's got a nice little step here. I like that. You can hook a rope around it or something like that to pull with. I think that's a pretty good design. Of course, it's got the 2-inch receiver hitch here in the back. I think that's a really good design. But this bumper and the bracket system on it, I think it's poorly designed as far as installation is concerned. Now, if you've got the right tools, probably not a problem. We had to go get extensions. You can use a long extension on one side. You have to use a short extension on the other side. It's a 1/2-inch wrench. I mean, it works out once you get the extension just right in a position like this, where you can get the nut up in there and get it started. The problem is getting your hands right up under here to actually turn the bolt to get it, and because there's no way to see up under in there. Once you get it in there, there's no place to look and see. It's all by feel. So we've got it installed. I wanted to put this video up because I know other people out there will probably try to install these and they're going to get really frustrated. I mean, I'm sitting here, this took me 47 minutes to do this. I was thinking it was going to be maybe a 10-minute job, 15 minutes at the most. But it took me 47 minutes to do this, and I had to go hunt up, and I wouldn't have been able to have done it if I hadn't had these specific tools. So just know, if you're going to install a bumper on the 570 Polaris Ranger, you got to have a 3/8 wiggler. A 1/2-inch won't go in there, and a 1/2-inch extension won't work. You got to have a 3/8. That's the secret behind it all. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.